To check for my own.
Yes. Yes, I mean,
Welcome, folks. This is House Corrections and Institutions Committee. It is, what day is this? May 6th. It's Wednesday, May 6th.
Yep.
This is our 9:30 meeting. We are going to go over the Senate changes to 559, and we have with us Senator Joe Major, who is on the Senate Institutions Committee, as well as the reporter of the bill.
that is correct.
Thank you. So if you could identify yourself for the record, please.
Thank you, Chair Evans. My name is Joe Major. I'm on the Senate Institutions and also the reporter of the bill yesterday. If you'd like, I can go over section by section, just a brief to go over it, and then within it can give some changes. Now, there were some, we said before we went on, there were some changes from appropriations in it as well. So, and third reading is today. So I have no idea if there will be any amendments. I don't project that any. I haven't heard from any. There was ironically no questions.
Good.
From anyone. So I fully expect this to pass without much fanfare.
So maybe what we have before us is a copy with the highlights, changes. And also maybe what you can do is just for the sections that there's no changes, just indicate what sections there's no changes from the House version.
Sure.
Just focus in on those that are sections where you did make the change. Some explanation as to why the changes were made.
Okay. The bill makes 5 changes. It strengthens the training for the board members. It updates the board composition, creates a pilot project for external legal process, adds budget development and reporting requirements, and clarifies victim notification statutes, including the ability to opt out of notifications. The Senate amendment makes primarily technical and clarifying changes, and further clarifies the victim notification provision to ensure consistency in statute. As far as the section by section, section 1, this section requires the Commissioner of Corrections to collaborate with the parole board and chair to provide annual training to the board members. The training must cover key topics such as mental health disorders, substance use treatment, trauma-informed approaches for working with victims, and rehabilitation related to serious offenses. Section 2, parole board composition and training. This section makes several updates. It replaces 2 alternate members with 2 regular members, resulting in 7 regular members total. This reflects current practice without changing the board's size. It requires the governor to consult with the board's director and chair when making appointments to consider a balance of relative expertise among members. It also removes outdated references to alternate members and requires the board members to attend training annually. It also designate the director in collaboration with the chair. Section 3, the parole board director. This section clarifies the parole board director is responsible for providing training to the board members and for supporting the overall functioning of the board. Section 4, parole board. Yes. No, that's fine.
This is where your first changes for the committee members.
Yep.
Is section 3. We had on line 18, developing and providing training. And you just change your language a little bit.
Yes.
Ensuring that the training is developed and provided.
Yes.
To the board.
And like I said, the basic bill, we didn't do any real changes except in appropriations, which I would probably have, Senator Westman come in and talk to that specifically, but, really just technical changes in here and clarifying changes.
So who would develop the training?
That would be, developing the training would be the board chair with, consultation from outside sources.
Because the way we had it, the developer is responsible for developing and providing the training to the board in collaboration with the commissioner and chair.
Correct.
So by changing it, the director now needs to ensure that the training is developed and provided, so it's not the director who's developing the training.
Correct.
That's the big change.
And it may be, but it is up to his discretion or her discretion. They may need outside sources to do that. And I would often suggest that happen. And in this bill, you want experts to come in, whether they're legal, particularly the wide-ranging things that we're asking the board to develop and to make decisions on. I think that is important.
So for the committee to understand how that language changes it, the way we had it, the director would develop the training to the board. This changes it that the director needs to ensure training is developed and provided to the board. So
Now-
there's a shift there.
Yeah, and in that shift, he or she may still do that, but this gives that person discretion to open it up, not just as a narrow thing, but open it up to get people of experts and things of that nature.
Questions?
I love it. I think that's a good thing, actually.
Remember, we got to understand the language, folks.
Understanding.
Okay, keep going, Senator.
Section 4, Parole Board Legal Counsel Pilot Project. This section establishes a pilot project for fiscal year 2027 to provide the board with external legal counsel. This support will offer both training and legal advice related to hearings. The Attorney General's office will coordinate the procurement process in collaboration with the board and the Agency of Human Services. The pilot will be evaluated during the fiscal year of 2028 budget process. The parole board director will report back to the legislature by November 15th of 2026 with recommendations for future legal support.
Any questions on this one?
No.
Okay.
Section 5, carryover funds. This section carries forward $25,000 from the Department of Corrections fiscal year 2026 budget into fiscal year 2027 for the pilot project. These funds have previously been designated for external legal services, but were not used due to lack of bids.
So this is the amendment that Senator Westman offered.
Yes.
So the real is explaining what that 25,000 was originally to be used for.
Mhm.
It's the only difference.
Yeah. Section 6, appropriation funds. This section appropriates an additional $50,000 within the Department of Corrections budget to support the pilot project, ensuring sufficient resources to implement it. Section 7, parole board budget submission. This section requires the parole board director to submit proposed budgets during the fiscal year of 2028 and 2029 budget development process. It also requires a report back to the legislature by December 15th of 2027, including a recommendation on whether the parole board should have its line item in the Department of Corrections budget.
So that date got changed from the 15th to the 1st.
Yes,
Is there, I mean, it's only 2 weeks.
Yeah, but-
What was the thinking there?
I think more consistency on, we normally go on the first of every, there was no real, but other than consistency. Section 8 through 10, victim notification. I'm sorry.
This came from the Victim Notification Task Force.
Yes.
Report.
These sections clarify and streamline statutory language regarding victim notification of parole board hearings and decisions. They confirm current practice that victims may opt out of receiving notification. They also consolidate and align provisions across statute, placing the detailed requirements of Title 28 and maintaining a cross-reference in Title 13. That these changes were requested by the Victim Notification Task Force.
So is it only for release from custody? So it would be, and we can talk with Mary Jane on this as well. So this is released from custody. They would be released from parole.
Really, the real thing is the opt-out measure of it, whether they want to be notified. I would suspect in this, some victims just want to move past, and not because the series of, depending on the number of parole hearings that they have, some people just want to move on. Having and not spoken specifically with the task force, this is what was presented to us.
So I don't know what section, information concerning release from custody, and we can ask Mary Jane. If this is release from custody from the incarcerative setting, furlough, or parole. Did you get into that? Or was it just the,
My understanding, it was parole.
okay, and then it's only for listed crimes.
Yes.
It's,
That's the crime.
so that would be, find out listed crimes if that's the big 13.
Yes. And theft.
Don't want to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But and I'm trying to remember all the listed crimes in Title 13. I don't have it.
No, I'm just thinking listed crimes. I think it's the big third. When we reference listed crime, I want to check in. Mary Jane, we can have, you want to weigh in on this? Because I saw your face just popped up.
Yes, good morning, committee. My apologies for not being there this morning. I'm at the annual Association of Paroling Authorities International Conference. Mary Jane Ainsworth, Director of the Parole Board. Listed offenses are detailed in 13 VSA 5301, I believe. That's not the big 13. It is the one that encompasses more crimes. Anywhere from domestic assault all the way up to murder, to include some driving crimes with injury, DUIs with injury, and so forth. So this is the expanded statute, the ones that are also eligible for presumptive parole. So it's not narrowed down to that smaller group.
Okay. So Mary Jane, when it says, and I'm assuming this is new language in 13 VSA 5305.
So
when it says if information concerning release from custody, is that current law or is that
okay?
Highlighted?
Yep. So it is a little confusing that this is all highlighted. If you'd like me to expand, I'm sure. 1305, the strikeout language is the current law.
Right.
And the goal of the committee, and I think the goal of all the folks who testified, was to clean this language up, because the language in 135305 was more of an opt-in to notification language, and it differed from the language that was in 28. Hold on.
Right.
Um,
It was 28,507.
507, yes, and it was different than what was in 28,507. The victim task force had suggested making the two sections the same.
Yes.
I came in from the parole board and said, should we just have one section and not two, so we don't get into the situation in the future? The committee, after speaking with legislative counsel, came up with a cross-reference. So that way, if it's changed in 28, the cross-reference is there depending on where the victim goes and looks for this information. Jennifer Pullman had mentioned to all of us that the statutes in chapter 13 are more around the state's attorneys, and that's why the more specific language was decided to be put in 28 because that's more specific to parole.
Right. So when it says, I just want for my own clarification, information concerning release from custody. Is it custody from the incarcerated setting? Is it custody from furlough and parole? Is it all encompassing?
I believe there's, I'd have to pull up the entire statute, but this is just C around parole. I think section C is the parole piece, and I think A and B talk about the other aspects of custody. But I'd have to pull the entire statute up, and I can do that in just a second.
Because the intent right here in this bill was only dealing with those folks who are going to be on parole, going through the parole board hearing, and then opt out for victims instead of the opt-in. That's the only change.
Correct.
So I want to make sure when it's talking about information concerning release from custody, it's custody from where? Or from whom?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up real quick. So 5305, section A is around any agency. 5305A is around agency. It seems like it's more including release on bail and conditions of release, furlough, or any other community program. So that one's more general. And then B is if the defendant is released from conditions of arraignment, the prosecutor's office shall inform the victim of a listed crime of the conditions of release. And then C was specifically around parole.
Okay, great.
So
A and B doesn't show up in the draft,
Right.
just for folks. Okay, just wanted to be clear. Anything, any questions from the committee?
Well, so is this is 53.01.
Yeah, you need,
And so the
you
listed
need
crime,
52. Oh, okay.
it said there's 28
Right.
because it goes through the whole
Right,
alphabet.
that's
and
the
then there's
whole,
more.
okay.
So there's a
Okay.
28.
So it's
29,
beyond
30,
the
31,
13.
33. It's a lot.
Right.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm reading right.
Yeah. Great, thank you. All yours, Joe. Section 9.
Well, I actually just went through section 9 through 8 through 10. With that. And so section 11.
So it's all highlighted, section 9. This is current law. What is all highlighted? This is current.
Yes. Except for what's
Page
Line
7,
18, page 7,
29.
adding a victim may waive any notification. Oh, no, there's one.
Yeah, it was an ad.
yeah. And the victim notification to the opportunity to testify.
On page 8.
That's
On
page
8.
8.
Yeah. At least 30 days prior to the parole.
Then section 10 is the
That is-
notification from the board,
Correct.
right? To notify the victim, and that came from the victim notification task force.
Correct.
Sounded like typing. Imagine that clock was going. Any questions? The Senator. What was,
Effective date is July 1st, 2026.
and what was the vote on your committee? And no questions on the Senate floor?
No questions on the Senate floor, and it was in today's third reading, so I wouldn't suspect that there would be any amendments to anything to that nature at all. So I would suspect this will pass. I'd be shocked if it didn't. It wasn't a roll call. So. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Senator.
Senator.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
To Mary Jane Ainsworth, Director of the Parole Board, just to give, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Have a great rest of the day.
will do.
Make miracles happen.
Yeah. Mary Jane, welcome. We just want to give you an opportunity to weigh in on the changes here.
All right, good morning again. I appreciate the opportunity to weigh in. The parole board is in support of these changes. The one thing that you all were talking about at the beginning, and I just wanted to touch upon a little bit, was on page 3, line 18 and 19, around the language change concerning the training. Going from developing and providing training to ensuring training is developed and provided. I'm in support of this language because I wouldn't necessarily be as a director, I wouldn't necessarily be the subject matter expert in all of these trainings. We do have like our structured decision-making framework that is built by the National Institute of Corrections. So we do have their trainers come in from time to time to train on that. So I'm in full support of ensuring training is developed and provided. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't develop and provide training, but it just gives a little bit more flexibility. It just gives more flexibility because we would want to bring in experts as well.
Thank you, Mary Jane, for that.
Of course.
John?
But just as clarity, Mary Jane, so in the first part of that sentence in 16 and 17.
Yep.
You want to be involved and in charge of ensuring the legal compliance, developing and implementing all policies and procedures. That's like it says there, you don't want to mess with that.
No. And I think that
right.
And I think that would be I don't know how granular we would want to get with that, but I think that is also in court. As a director, you would coordinate with your legal counsel, you would coordinate with other people, experts in developing policies and procedures. Like we have, sometimes I'm able to get technical assistance to have experts come in and meet with the board to have these conversations. I just think this gives a better overarching of who's kind of overall responsible for the board, because that's been a question many times from some of our board members. I've had them say to me in an open meeting before, you can't tell me what to do, or you can't advise me of what best practice is. And I just can't believe it when that happens sometimes.
Gotcha. All right. It was just clarifying that for me. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else on this one from the committee? Anything else, Mary Jane?
I don't think so. I just wanted to clarify. I know there were some questions about the victim, a few more questions around the victim language, and I just wanted to clarify some of that.
Okay.
I was very happy to see some of these changes because the section 8 and section, hold on, sorry. In section 9 were kind of in conflict with each other for many, many years. So seeing this cleaned up is great. It doesn't change practice. So we've been doing the opt-out practice with the Department of Corrections for many years. So it's not, it's just clarifying. And the other thing I wanted to point out that also this does in 28507 is it also allows the victims an opportunity to be able to waive their notification, but it doesn't say, it used to say that they had to waive it specifically in writing. A lot of victims will have conversations with DOC victim services specialists, and this also gives them the opportunity to either waive their notification with the board, with DOC victim services and so forth, and not make it so hard to necessarily opt out if they want to, because some victims just for their own mental health opt out. Not many, but once in a while. And also in section, and also regarding the release on parole section, I know that's really confusing, the 502A. Hillary from Legislative Council had found a couple, line 9 on page 7 is more of a technical amendment. It previously said within 30 days of an inmate's eligibility date. She wanted to clear that up of in advance to make it more consistent, make it clearer of when that within 30 days would be. It also more goes in line of when the inmates have their initial eligibility hearing, because it is in advance, 30 days in advance of their eligibility date. And then she wanted to just add the victim may waive any notification on line 18, just to clean it up. So it's because there was one more spot where victim notification was mentioned in the parole statutes. This is the presumptive parole statute section.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk about, because presumptive parole is new to many members of this committee. They were not here when we put it in place. So we have in the structure of DOC, after, when a person meets their minimum, they've been incarcerated and they meet their minimum, they are eligible, doesn't mean that they will be, but they are eligible to be released. And we have two statuses that they could be released on. The first, in the old days, was furlough. And there were a lot of different, not steps, but qualifications for different types of furlough. That's under DOC. DOC makes that decision. In theory, what used to occur, you go out on furlough, you did really well, then you could go on parole. That all got changed a few years ago for folks. When they've reached their minimum, they are eligible to be released. And depending on their risk criteria, they would presume to be paroled. They don't have to go through furlough, and they don't even have to really go through much of the parole board. They would presume to be paroled. That's what this particular section pertains to, is the presumptive parole. So most of our parole now has been shifted. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary Jane, but most of our parole really has been shifted to presumptive parole. Or not?
No.
Depends on the risk criteria.
It's not just risk criteria. There's 6 or 7 different criteria that's outlined in statute that I don't believe are in this bill. One of them is they couldn't, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm going to try to give you the criteria the best I can. One is they cannot be serving a sentence when they pick up they are sentenced for another crime. They cannot have an active detainer or warrant from another jurisdiction. They must be in compliant with their case plan in programming. They cannot have a major DR within 12 months. They cannot have had their parole revoked previously, and they cannot have a crime part of that big 13.
So the changes that we've done here in section 9 only pertains to the presumptive parole piece in terms of a victim may waive any notification?
Yes, so the current presumptive parole process is that if the Department of Corrections identifies someone as eligible for presumptive parole, then they are forwarded to the board within 30 days in advance of the hearing. When the board is reviewing it, the board this is the only way that the board may deny presumptive parole, is the board may deny presumptive release and set a hearing if it determines through its administrative review that a victim or victims should have the opportunity to participate in a parole hearing. If the board determines there is a victim or victims who should be notified, the Department of Corrections shall notify the victim or victims, and the board shall provide them with the opportunity to participate in that hearing. Then it was added, a victim may waive any notification, just to make it consistent with the others. So it's saying, in one section, it's saying that the board is telling DOC that they have to notify, but if the victim doesn't want to be notified, then it's just cleaning that up. So they still are eligible to not, a victim can still request no notification like they can in the other parole statute.
In the regular parole?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's what I wanted to make sure.
Yep. So it's just adding that one other piece just to keep it consistent around victim notification.
So just for clarity, for someone reaches their min and they are a good candidate for presumptive parole.
Yep.
That if there's a victim comes forward, or there, you know that there's a victim, it can go through the parole board. If no victim comes forward or is part of the case, then the person is automatically paroled without going through the parole board.
So the parole board will still get the packet. We will
Yeah.
review the packet, and then we will set conditions and provide them with a parole agreement.
Right, but you don't make the decision whether or not they're paroled. You only set the conditions.
Correct.
In presumptive parole, you do have an additional role of really working with the victim as well.
To a degree, yes. The department is still doing the notification, but the board is still meeting. If they deny to allow a victim to come, the victim would still come and speak with the board if they wanted to, or write a letter. We've had, I think, 1 or 2 presumptive cases. There's been very few in the last 5 years, but we have had 1 or 2 where the board presumptively paroled someone where there was a victim because the victim did either opt out of notification or they provided a letter, and it may have been in support of the individual being released.
Is that clear as mud to folks about presumptive parole
Yeah,
and how that's different than regular parole?
How come,
How you get there?
how come the exceptions are in a different statute than the requirements?
Or what?
So it says that the exceptions, like.
Are you in our statutes?
That's why I went to the statute, yes, it's there. But it says that the requirements are in 28 VSA 501A. And then that the exceptions are in 5204, which is part of 33. Just curious, you know.
Well, you're talking about
Sorry.
So the ones in chapter in 33, those are the big 13 crimes,
Okay.
Yeah.
and they are located in a juvenile statute, I believe.
Yes.
Title
It
33,
is.
not Title 13.
Yeah, that just references those big 13.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kevin?
I looked up parole versus furlough, and I don't recall us helping us newbies the difference. It looks like furlough to me is a temporary release as opposed to parole, which is intended to be a continuation, or are there, is there
Furlough,
more?
when someone's on furlough, it's the Department of Corrections that's responsible for that. It is the Department of Corrections that grants furlough.
Right.
And the thinking is furlough, you've got kind of a short leash. the Department of Corrections sets the conditions. And you're on furlough, you're back out in community, and you answer to the Department of Corrections.
Right.
The thinking is, if you do really well on furlough, then over time, it can be requested to go on parole. Parole is under the parole board. It is not under corrections.
Oh,
And the leash is longer. You have more freedom, basically, in the community.
Yeah.
If you're on
Yeah.
furlough, you can't go out of state. If
Yeah.
you're on parole, you can go out of state. The conditions for parole are set by the board. It's not set by DOC. If there's violations, if you're on furlough and there's violations of conditions of release on furlough, those conditions of release were set by DOC. The person goes back to DOC. DOC decides, do you go back on furlough with more conditions or are you reincarcerated? If you're on parole, the parole board sets those conditions. If you violate those conditions, the person goes back before the parole board. It is the parole board that then decides, do we strengthen the conditions or are you reincarcerated? So that's the difference.
Mhm.
And you have more freedom on parole than you do on furlough.
who monitors parole?
Your field officers, your P&P officers.
Mary Jane's.
Mary Jane, you're gonna correct me.
No, I'm not going to correct you. I just wanted to add one other piece. So the other thing with on parole, if someone violates a condition of their parole, they have the opportunity to be represented by an attorney at their parole violation hearing, where furlough they do not.
Thank you.
So that's one other big piece. We have been seeing a trend in the last couple of years where folks want to remain on furlough because they are getting those 7 days of earned time while they're on furlough.
Yeah.
So we do have some who just don't want to be paroled now.
Right.
Oh.
If you're on probation, you don't get earned time. If you're on parole, you don't get earned time. But furlough, because you're still considered incarcerated, but outside the walls. That's why you still qualify for earned time.
Yeah.
For that. Probation is under the courts. That's not under DOC. That's not under the parole board. It's under the courts. The courts set those conditions. It's still your P&P officers out in the field that supervise.
Yeah.
So if you get a call or a constituent concern that something about someone, well, they're sentenced and DOC is just letting them go wild or DOC isn't reincarcerating them, you got to find out what their status is.
Yes.
Are they under probation? Are they on furlough? Or are they on parole? Because everybody thinks it's all under corrections and it is not.
So then, can you explain presumptive parole then in that same context as furlough and parole?
Yeah.
And then,
So presumptive parole, if you
Yeah.
go back, when a person has reached their minimum, incarcerated minimum,
Yeah.
doesn't mean probation, it means they've actually incarcerated in one of our facilities. They've reached their minimum. They are eligible to be released to the community. Doesn't mean they're going to be. They are
They're eligible.
eligible. That's how they behaved while they were incarcerated. Doesn't have much to do with the crime except for the risk factors that are set in place. There's two ways they can be released. They can be released on furlough, or they could be released on parole. Okay, that's the way it's always been. Well, we made a change a few years ago is for folks who have reached their minimum and are eligible, they will have been presumed to be paroled. So they could go directly to parole and not have to do furlough. Doesn't mean they're automatically going to get it. The DOC has to make those recommendations and then the parole board can kick in. So you are presumed to be paroled instead of furlough. It's presumptive. You're presumed to be. You would automatically qualify for presumptive parole if you meet some certain criteria.
And I'm understanding that when someone's on furlough, the individual who's monitoring their behavior is totally different than if the person is on parole.
No.
Oh, no.
Same person. It's your field offices. It's your probation and parole officers in your field
In
offices.
either case, it's
Yep.
still a probational officer.
Yep.
So they understand the history, whether you're on parole or
Yep.
furlough.
And they know what those conditions are.
Even though, who do they report into? If it's not DOC, the parole
If
board
it's-
is,
If it's a violation of furlough conditions, they report to DOC.
right.
If it's a violation of parole conditions, they report to the parole.
Yeah, I got which board it is, but it's the same individual monitoring a parolee versus a.
And a person on probation
Yeah,
as
okay.
well.
So,
It's your field office.
okay, so it's just a different board that is, okay.
The answer to a different entity. It's the same, it's your correctional folks, Department of Corrections folks, in your field offices that are supervising folks who are on probation, furlough, and parole. For that. They're doing that. So people kind of, are you clear on the parole?
Yeah, definitely. That helped. That's helpful.
Because what we were finding, we had a high number of folks on furlough. And your parole folks, we didn't have that high a number.
Mhm.
So there was so much churn happening in our correctional facilities from that, and in working with the Council of State Governments to really help that revolving door, because a lot of folks were coming in on technical violations. They weren't creating a new crime, they were
Right.
violating their conditions. So you got
parole.
that churn coming back into your
Yep.
facilities. They're saying, why are you spending so much? I forgot how many
like
statuses of furlough
Yeah.
we had. We had a
There's a lot.
huge list. We consolidated a lot of that. And then we also said they can be presumed to be paroled. If they're abiding by the rules and they're doing a good job, why would they have to go through that step of furlough? Just
Okay.
put them right on to
Under
parole.
parole,
Because
right.
they've earned it. It's not for everybody.
Yep.
Trust me, but it's a way to move folks back into the community with support.
Right. It takes that releases that pressure from DOC in a
Right.
way. Gotcha.
It
Okay.
frees up the bed for folks, again,
Yep.
who really need it.
Okay.
Doesn't mean everybody's gonna qualify for
Right.
presumptive parole. It's just another tool in the tool.
So, and then I just have one.
Yeah.
Quick question. So, Mary Jane, on page 7, line 18, a victim may waive any notification. We added that in, correct?
Yes, Legislative Council added that in just to kind of true up the statute to follow suit with the other statute.
Gotcha. Okay, so then on page 8, line 11, we took away that, and I just want to know why they did that.
So they took it away on line 11, but if you look at line 3 on page 8, it says the Department of Corrections shall, unless waived by the
Unless waived.
victim.
Thank you very much for making that clarity. That's helpful. So so we didn't need to say it twice.
Right, and kicked it off, and I think added the language at the beginning, so it kicked off the section versus ending the section with it. So the victim
Okay,
sees
Yep.
it right away.
thank you. Yep, that's great. Thank you.
And I think I heard you say they don't need to do it in writing.
Correct.
So a verbal, please stop notifying me. I assume we document that so that they can't come back and tell us that
Yes.
that the
DOC,
fine system isn't working.
Yeah, DOC would document that, and I believe they would also let us know as well, so we could document it in our files as well, so we wouldn't try to get the victim again as well.
And it's obvious, but
All right, thank you, Mary Jane. That
Of
helps.
course.
And
Anything else on this? So Mary Jane, the parole board is in support of the changes that the Senate has proposed, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
And do you know if Jennifer Pullman also worked with this? You can't speak for them. We can reach out to see if
I
they're.
believe I have an email that states she's in support of the changes,
helpful.
along with DOC as well. I believe that Haley had testified briefly at the last Senate institutions meeting on this as well.
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from folks? So our next step, we need to wait till the bill actually is over here.
Mhm.
And I think we can make a decision pretty quick once we see it on notice, calendar, what our actions will be
Mhm.
for that. We shouldn't take a vote on anything until it's actually on our notice calendar. Which at this point probably won't be until maybe Friday. They work on it today.
Hopefully they get to it today.
I hope so.
Sounds like they're gonna try.
Anything else? Thank you, Mary Jane. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
You have a good
Thank
rest
you
of
all. I appreciate all of you taking your time with this bill. It's very much appreciated.
Well, we appreciate all the work you did to help us get to this point. Trust
course.
me. It was touch and go there and up and down, but
Of course.
Turned out good,
Mary?
though.
I just said, have a good rest of your conference.
Thank you.
we had
Yeah,
a
I'm
little
on the
break there.
I'm on the other end of I'm down south. So it's nice.
Nice and warm.
Yes. Yeah,
Where
it's in New Orleans this year, so
Oh, wow.
different experience.
Yeah,
I've
very
got I've got one board member with me. That's our training budget for the year.
different. Better than nothing, right?
Exactly. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Okay. This mic. So we'll return to this once it's on notice. And we'll take a vote in terms of, do we concur with the Senate proposal with amendment? Do we not concur with further proposal, or do we? I think I know what we'll do, but we're not doing it now.
Same feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Get our schedule here. And we're way ahead, so we are due downstairs at 11 o'clock. We're gonna have a new draft of S-193. And you've got that, right?
I do have that.
Yeah. And we're gonna have Eric Fitzpatrick as well as Katie McQuinn. Go through what House Judiciary has done. And where we are, and I think there's also gonna be some language there from House Human Services Committee. And then we'll figure out how we can put all of these moving pieces together, particularly for our legal staff. For that. So we'll go off YouTube now.